Harold Fisher here, anchor and host of the Daily Drum on WHUR. And I want to welcome you to yet another edition of HUR at Home. And tonight, we have the honor of sitting down with Eddie Levert of the OJs. But we're not talking about music tonight. We're actually talking about the issue that everyone is so concerned about these days. We're talking about the loss of Black men while in the custody of law enforcement. And this issue hits home for Levert. He lost one of his sons in that very manner many years ago. Mr. Levert, thank you so much for coming on this program and talking about this really delicate issue that everyone needs to pay attention to. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I don't know whether the dynamics are the same or not. But good evening, Harold. How you doing? I wanted to say, has anyone ever told you you look like Harold Melvin with the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes?
You know, no one has ever told me that. I was, I was a fan. So okay. I'll take that.
You even talk like it.
Look, like I said, I'll definitely take that, and I'm glad that I could that we can make each other laugh during these really difficult times.
Okay, but
I'll have to look him up.
Right. You look like you remind me of him. Let me just say that. But anyway,
I have to work on the vocals.
What was the question, man?
Well, I want to talk to you about just kind of where we are right now, and certainly specifically about the loss of your son. Back in, was it 2008?
Yeah,
Sean, because even now the details are certainly murky. But from your perspective, what happened to your son?
All I can really say was that he went into the he was being sued for child support by one of his as the kids say, baby mamas. And so he had to he didn't have the bail money.
Mm-hmm.
And he chose to do like what it was like 10 days or so that he was supposed to do in jail. And in those 10 days, they refused to give him his meds. And he became somewhat hyper and irate, and he was just from them not giving his meds, who they were to calm him down, his hyperactiveness. And so consequently, he got so to the point that they had to put him in a straitjacket. All this time that this is going on, they're not making anyone aware close to him that this is going on. You know what I'm saying? So the next thing we know, they're saying that he passed away through congestive heart failure and stress and all of that. And so we fought it, but no amount of fight and no amount of money can ever erase that from you, that your kid died in a place that was supposed to be safe for him, with people who were supposed to be protecting him. And all they can tell you is that he just succumbed, and they don't really know why. You know what I'm saying? So we got a law passed that we call it Sean's Law, where they now have to make sure that inmates get their medicine. and they just passed that. Well, they were still working on it down at the Capitol in Ohio. So we think some good is coming of it. But when you talk about people like um, Mr. Floyd, the gentleman down jogging through Atlanta,
Yes, Ahmaud Arbery. Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, these people, for some reason, they seem like they became targets for that kind of. With Arbery, it was like some crazy. For lack of a better word, I call them the "Let's Make a Great America Great Again" people. Got him cornered up down there, and their hate spun out of control, and they killed him. Same thing with that cop. He sat on that man's neck for 8 minutes. Do you know how long 8 minutes is?
Mm-hmm.
I've sung Love Train for 20 minutes, and that seemed like forever. So 10 minutes of that, you know what I'm saying, would seem like forever. And that was as much as he had on his neck. And so that affected me in a kind of point that it took me way back to the day when we were coming up in in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bessemer.
yes,
Yes,
that's right.
I'm familiar with Alabama. I worked in television in Huntsville, covered news in Birmingham. I'm very familiar.
Yeah, and so we used to Ku Klux Klan would be marching through the neighborhood. So we had to get up under the bed and cower under the bed until they rambled through the city or whatever. And you know, so it only just brought those memories back. And this was as a 4-year-old, you know what I'm saying? 5-year-old, 6-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I went through all of that, man. And these times when I see that happening again, it's only let me know that we've come so far, but we haven't come far enough from the standpoint of we can't stop marching. We have to be like Jonah in the Battle of Jericho. We have to keep marching until the walls come down. You know what I'm saying? That means until you see a clear achievement of something that you have achieved and it's in law and they have to do it. And it's not that they have to do it because you still got that thing under that hates for no reason.
Talk to me a little bit, if you can, about you know mental health in the Black communities. You've been in the past. You've been really transparent about some of the challenges that you've had. Last night on my program, we talked about the PTSD, the trauma that Black men are experiencing now because of this crisis of prejudice and racism. Talk to me.
Well, that all stems from, that thing they call systemic racism. This is something that we've been going through since we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So from the time I was born, it's been going on. From the time you were born, it's been going on.
Exactly.
And people before me, you know what I'm saying? It's going, and we've marched, and we've gone up, and we've rioted, we've burned things, but we haven't marched long enough. We let them come with those peaceful talks. We got to be peaceful. We're gonna take time to do this. We got to take our time and do it right, and forever. And that time just keeps stretches on and on and on until nothing becomes of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when do you put a limit to how long you're gonna wait? Are you just gonna keep waiting until they just beat your brains out and keep beating your brains out? You know what I'm saying? look, man, anybody who don't want to admit that there's racism, and racism is a cause of some of our Black people making the choices that they had to make because their mothers or fathers didn't get the break because they were Black, and it rubbed off on the kid. That made the kid hard for the kid to get some break. So that it's like a virus, like the pandemic. That's what that's like. And it keeps eating away, and it eat away at your young. It takes, go ahead.
You came up at a time when entertainers were kind of hitting their stride, in activism, as a young man. When you see the young entertainers now stepping up, whether it be on social media or marching or the like, do you feel that the torch has been efficiently passed? How do you feel about the kind of activism that you see now compared to what you've done in your life?
You know, the only path that we knew is like you get a job, you work hard. If you're talented, you're able to get a recording contract. You try to make the best records you can to become as great as you can and make the money that you can. But in saying that is that, everybody don't look at things the same, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's work ethics are not the same. They see, I go to thinking so hard about these things, man, that I sort of get thrown off track sometimes when I'm speaking of it, because I'm thinking all the time about what we have to do to get past here. You know what I'm saying? We can't keep talking about this.
Well, what do you think that is? From a perspective of a sage entertainer who still has some influence not only in the entertainment community but the Black community. What
I think they should use their platform. They should to make people aware. But it goes deeper than that. They have deals that they've signed to not do certain things to hurt their contract. And some of them are deal breakers, and some of them you're not supposed to do at all. So you never know what the kind of agreement they have behind the door. You know what I'm saying? So they might not be able to speak out like that. But if you own yourself, and if you have your own, you're running your own company, like a Jay-Z or a Kanye, then you have a right to speak out and say what you want. And those who don't, I don't think they're down for the people.
Interesting. I just want to, thank you for spending some time with us to talk about this really critical issue. It is difficult, because you've lost two sons, certainly under different circumstances, but we continue to need voices like yours to speak out, to speak up. People still obviously love you. I've got a whole list of people here saying how much they love you. And also, the thing that I really want to say is happy birthday, and thank you for taking time out on your birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much
about that, because that's for some people. Look, my birthday was last week. I had to turn it off.
You're a Gemini. You're no joke.
There we go. Harold Melvin, Gemini. We need to hang out, right?
From one Gemini to another, I want to ask you about another Gemini.
Okay.
Our president. How do you think he can be so? How do you think, as him being a Gemini, and me, you knowing yourself and me knowing myself, how could he be that lousy?
Well, like they say, all of our skin folk aren't our kinfolk, and maybe that goes that goes with the Gemini too.
That was good, man.
Eddie LeVert, thank you so much for spending some time with us again. Happy birthday. Keep doing what you're doing. Tell your wife next time we talk, she can pop her head in. Don't be.
Yeah, well, she's, the pandemic and the quarantine has taken a toll on her. She's become the gardener, and so she wears these little funny hats now. And now her hair hasn't been done, so she wouldn't dare unless I grab her and pull her over here.
Right, but you know what? At least you have somebody to keep you, in good company during the shutdown. So absolutely. Look, thank you so much, Eddie LeVert. Good to see you. Good health to you. Stay safe and continue doing what you do. I really appreciate it.
And thank you very much for having me. You take care, Harold.
All right. Thank you. I'm Harold Fisher with another edition of HUR at Home. Of course, that was Eddie LeVert of the OJs. And of course, continue to watch all of our programs on our social media platforms, of course, WHUR.com, on Facebook, on YouTube. And I will see you next week with another interview. And as always, I'll see you on the radio.